welcome to the Hungry Heracross, where we rank, analyze, and create all things Zelda and Pokemon. Legends Arceus gave us a creative new spin on the Pokemon franchise, and with it, a creative new spin on some existing Pokemon. The new Hisuian regional variants and evolutions are quite interesting and divisive, and in today's video, I'm going to rank each of them from worst to best. For this ranking, I'm mainly considering each Pokemon's design, whilst giving some considerations to the type combination, how it compares to the original, and whether or not this new Pokemon needed to exist. If you don't want to be spoiled on all the new creatures, then just add this video to your watch later playlist. For everyone else, I'd love to hear which new Hisuian Pokemon is your favourite. Better still, leave a comment and try to convince me why it should be topping this list. With all that out the way, we've got a whopping 26 Pokemon to rank, so let's jump to it. Adding a new Pokemon to an established legendary trio isn't completely new for the franchise, but I was genuinely surprised to see a fourth genie revealed. Notice I said surprised, not happy or excited, because I don't rate the Unova forces of nature at all. Somehow, I dislike Enamorus's design even more than its counterparts. The slender body looks silly, and I'm not a fan of this whole love snake scarf thing it's got going on. The Therian form isn't much better. It's basically a worse version of Landorus that isn't menacing enough to be cool and isn't derpy enough to be adorable. It does have a pretty cool typing though, so there's the obligatory positive for the worst entry on the list. Remember when Kyogre and Groudon got really awesome primal forms? Yeah, they were the glory days. Origin form Dialga's just a mess. I don't think there's any aspect of this new form that is better than the version we know and love. I feel that it was a complete waste of time and effort to put this creature in the game. At least now we have a clear frontrunner for the worst main legendary in the series. Did you realise that they released a new Basculin form? No? Well, neither did I. We already had two forms of this forgettable fish, we didn't need a third. Yeah, the water ghost typing is cool, and this new racing stripe I feel is pretty sharp, but it's completely unnecessary. Having a new form undermines the significance of giving an evolution to an existing underappreciated Pokemon. Disappointing. Just like its buddy Dialga, Origin form Palkia got hit with that ugly stick. I do think this design is slightly better than its time-themed counterpart, but I think that's more to do with Dialga doing more things wrong than Palkia doing anything right. Look, I'm taking that bipedal form every day of the week. Of all the starter regional variants, I was most excited to see what they would do with Samurai, as let's be real, it's not the most popular starter. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to change, as its new form is rather disappointing. The golden armour on its head and legs changed to a sleek black, and its tail has a slight redesign. But that's it. It's almost like a new shiny form rather than a new regional variant. It would have been really cool to see the Hisuian form lean more into that samurai design and give this creature some real spirit and personality. It would have also been better to give it almost any other type combination. Regional variants don't need unique types, but no one likes it when they're reusing combination of starter type Pokemon. Now, not only does Samurai fail to live up to Empoleon, it also lives in Greninja's Water Dark Shadow, an unfortunate downgrade on an already average Pokemon. In recent times, Pokemon have given new evolutions to those that are widely underappreciated, like Yamask and Linoone, in turn making them more relevant and memorable. So it felt odd that a generally well-loved Pokemon in Sneasel would get a new regional form and evolution. I guess Sneasel is memorable, but for all the wrong reasons. The tall skinny body and weirdly big arms don't look quite right, but I'll admit that they are slowly growing on me the more and more I use Sneasler as a ride Pokemon. However, I don't think I'm ever going to be a fan of this typing. Nothing about its fighting and poison types screams adapting to the cold and climbing cliffs, which these cats allegedly do. If they're just going to randomly allocate types, they could have given us something cool and unique, such as Ice Poison. At least its grey-purple colour scheme is pretty cool. I quite like the Kalos Avalugg. It's a walking demolition iceberg that's an absolute unit. It's not the most popular or memorable Pokemon from Gen 6, so it was a worthwhile candidate to get a regional variant. However, after seeing its new form, I think Avalugg would have been better left alone. The decrease in size, the change of ice legs to rock legs, and the addition of a face shield are all downgrades to the original form. A positive is that the new Ice Rock typing does help give it more offensive coverage, complementing its slight increase to attack. I guess we can just pretend to ignore all the new weaknesses if we want. Electrode is okay without being amazing. Like its pre-evolution Voltorb, it gets a new Grass Electric typing, which is pretty awesome. Prior to this game, the typing was unique to a Rodent form. The new wooden aesthetic complements the ancient wooden texture, and I think that works really well. Yet, I felt like I wanted to see more from our buddy Electrode. Voltorb is based on a Mimic, and it nails that design element, but Electrode is just there. I felt like with a new regional form, there was the opportunity to have this Pokemon be an outside the square take on what a Mimic could evolve into. I would have loved to see something that towed the line between evil possessed item and the ball guy from Sword and Shield. Perhaps in the next gen. I actually like Hisuian Sneasel's design. Not as much as the original, but it's better than Sneasler. It's similar to its Johto counterpart, just a little rounder and less menacing. But look, the OG Sneasel is one of the coolest looking Pokemon, so it's hard to compete. As I said with Sneasler, the colour scheme is really cool, but the poison fighting type combo doesn't really work. It's not as egregious for Sneasel, but it's still disappointing. Also, I reckon at least 3/4 of the Johto Pokédex deserve another new form or evolution ahead of Sneasel, but perhaps we can save that rant for a video of its own. Okay, I love the Gujarat line. But even I have to admit that a lot of fans rank them as one of the weaker pseudo-legendaries. But given that fact, I felt that this dragon was most deserving of some new love by way of a Hisuian form. It's got a new steel dragon typing, and with it, a solid new metal shell. Not what I was hoping for, but I do think it works. I really like how it hides into its shell, leaning into that snail aspect. But I do feel like this has already been done before with the likes of Shelmet, Escavalier, and Omanite. It's not bad by any means, but perhaps leaning more into its slimy aspect would have been a bit more interesting. But the reason Gujarat is down the bottom half of this list is because of its new facial expressions. One of the most appealing aspects of the original Gujarat was its goofy smile, which I perceived as being fun and engaging. Now it's just another mopey Pokemon. And whilst we need these mopey creatures in the game, I don't think that those characteristics mesh well with Gujarat's overall design. As such, I much prefer the Colossian form to its new Hisuian counterpart. I like the idea of having a new split evolution for an old Pokemon. I just wish they did it for a Pokemon that they kinda messed up on, such as Crabrawler or Sunkern. But anyway, we got Cleaver, a new evolution for Scyther. It's a bug and rock type, and its design is a really good representation of the combo. With what looks like facial hair, Cleaver reminds me of a lumberjack, and that's kinda fun. Despite this, it pales in comparison to the rest of the evolutionary line for me. It's not the worst Pokemon created by any means, but I find it rather forgettable. Playing through the game, I just want to use a Scyther or a Scizor instead, so it's really hard to rate this stone bug any higher on the list. Ever since Serena was introduced, I felt that it's overshadowed Lilligant in almost every way. So it was nice of Game Freak to give the elegant humanoid grass type another chance to shine. The changes in the new form work quite well, with a slightly taller body, dress, I guess, changing to a skirt, and the red petal changing into a smaller purple one. I still slightly prefer the original design, but it's pretty close. What I'm not a fan of is that Ligand gains the fighting typing. Look, I just don't see it in this design. Are they just trying to retcon not giving the typing to Serena, or am I missing something? So I guess the question here is, will this new regional variant help it surpass the Alolan Grass Queen in popularity? Well, probably not. Ursulina evolves from Ursaring, a somewhat forgotten bear originating in the Johto region. There have been an abundance of bear Pokemon since Gen 2, so it was really nice to see an old favourite get some love. They gave it a new normal ground typing, which makes sense given it's covered in what looks like mud. I love the way new Ursulina moves, and I like most of its design, just not its face. Ursaring is this fierce beast that strikes the fear into trainers. Ursulina looks like it would get scared of its own shadow. If perhaps Ursulina just evolved from Teddiursa, then this could work, given the cub still has that look of innocence. But nonetheless, we're left with an evolution that doesn't really feel like an evolution. I haven't seen anyone else talk about this, but I genuinely thought Ursulina evolved from Teddiursa until I looked it up. Look, it's a great design, but I have a hard time believing this thing evolved from Johto's Big Bear. Over the years, Quillfish has faded into obscurity, being omitted from Gen 7 and overshadowed by newer sea creatures. As such, it's an ideal candidate for a new Hisuian form to give it a new breath of life. Aside from the new colour palette, the design differences are quite subtle, with the front spike being slightly smaller, some additional colouring under the eyes, and the two lines under the tail being replaced with the letter Q. Not big changes, but I feel they're all slight upgrades on the Johto variant. Its typing also changes from water poison to dark poison, which I think is pretty cool. It still gets access to some handy water type moves to help against those pesky ground types. Ticks across the board for me. Slightly better than Quillfish is its new evolution, Overquill. It's bigger, spikier, and angrier, making it pretty appealing. It shares the dark poison typing with its pre-evolution, along with the same colour scheme. The evolution doesn't add anything too fancy, other than a capital Q and a cool purple tinge to the tip of its spikes. I think they're good enough reasons to put this one spot ahead of the original Johto fish. The wedge-tailed eagle is one of my favourite animals, and whilst the Unovian Braviary is based on another eagle, I think it does a disservice to the animal species. Honestly, it's one of my least favourite Pokemon. Thankfully in Hisui, the Braviary have a better typing, colour scheme, and an overall better design, with those plumes now a beautiful purple flame. In every way, Hisuian Braviary is an improvement on its Unovian counterpart, and I'm all for that. Should there be a better eagle Pokemon? Yes, of course, but I'm happy to wait to an Australian-based region, perhaps in Gen 11. I'm content with flying around on this new fluffy bird for the time being. Of all the Pokemon that got new forms or evolution in Kazooie, Stanley was the creature that needed it the most. Since Gen 3, the only way to get this Pokemon in-game has been via trade or some rare post-game gimmick, and there have been multiple times where this creature is unobtainable. So to say Weird was much needed is an understatement. Whilst its white fur makes it look like an ice type, I like how this evolution leans into its psychic powers alluded to when Stoutland was still relevant. Ice Psychic would have been fun, but normal Psychic works just fine. The way its eyes are shaped and the length and colouring of its front fur make Weirdy appear quite wise. It gives the creature some style and personality. Who knows, maybe Game Freak may actually contemplate which deer family to put in Gen 9 rather than pretend Stantler never existed. Voltorb's Hisuian form gives it a new wooden look, a cool grass electric typing, and most notably, some positive thinking. This little ball looks so happy, and it is far better than both Hisui and Electrode, and both of their Cantonian forms. I think the indentations of the eyebrows are incredible, and the overall ancient wooden aesthetic just works perfectly. As I alluded to earlier, I think Voltorb nails the mimic concept to a T. That said, there's only so far that concept can take you, and whilst I can't think of anything to improve on this little ball, it's just not as good as the Pokemon remaining on this list. Arcanine has always been a fan favourite, and whilst it's one of the last big Kanto Pokemon to get either a Mega, new form or regional variant, it's still been quite prominent. Be it the movies, competitive scene or merchandising, Arcanine has maintained its relevancy. But with Legend Arceus, it finally got the love that every other Gen 1 Fire type received, with a really good Hisuian form. Arcanine is known as the legendary Pokemon, and they've lent into that aspect with this new design. Their fur turns into a stunning burnt orange, and their tail and mane go from the fluffy cream to a smoky grey. I love the original Arcanine's design, but I slightly prefer this new fire canine. These Arcanine reside in a volcano, which is perhaps an homage to its Pokemon Snap appearance. As such, they gain a secondary typing in rock, which matches that whole volcanic aesthetic. I'm intrigued to see which Arcanine will be featured in future games and movies, but either way, you know they're going to show up and be awesome. If Stanley was the Pokemon who needed the new Evo the most, then Basculin is right behind it, being another overlooked fish Pokemon. But my gosh, did they turn this forgettable fish into an absolute beast. Taking the souls of its dead school members, Basculin becomes a giant rideable salmon that looks so much better than its pre-evolved form. Like the Unovian Basculin, this big fish has two forms based on gender. They're pretty much the same except for one being red, the other being light blue, and a change in facial expressions. Both are absolutely awesome, and I cannot wait to get a Basculin plushie. The only negative I have about this Pokemon is that they introduced another Basculin form and had Basculin evolve from that rather than the Unovian variants. Those poor guys can't take a trick. As a massive Zelda fan, I see Deciduous' new design and I immediately think of Skull Kid. That's not a bad thing though, because I think this new look is absolutely on point. They've only really changed the wings and headpiece, but it makes Deciduous feel like a completely different Pokemon. I really like how the feathers on its head resemble a kasa, a traditional Japanese hat. It's a nice ode to the ancient setting of the game. The only slight qualm I have is that, like Samurai, they gave it a typing that we've already seen on a starter in Grass Fighting. Yeah, it's an upgrade on Chestnut, but I still would have liked to see something else. Otherwise, it's a fantastic design that sets a really high benchmark for future regional variants. We saw with Alolan Vulpix that when you take a cute and sassy Pokemon and give them a white fur coat, that they become absolutely adorable. Well, that successful approach is repeated here with Hisui and Zarua. The original Zarua was a fine Pokemon, a tricky little fox with a mischievous smirk. The new variant loses a bit of that cheekiness for spitefulness, with its resting facial expression being a little bit more ominous. It still kept its signature trait of creating illusions, which is really important. Its other design changes include a new amber eye colour and a red tinge to the extremities of the aforementioned white fur. Both designs work quite well in their own right, but the Hisuian form has the more interesting typing of normal ghost. It's a typing unique to this family's line, and with the lore given to these new creatures in Legends Arceus, I really hope it stays that way. Rounding out the starter trio, we have Typhlosion. This Johto pal is part of my favourite starter evolutionary line, so I was extremely excited to see it come to Legends Arceus. Regardless of what the regional variant was going to be, there was no way I wasn't picking Cyndaquil as my buddy. Thankfully, they gave this fiery badger a great new form. The key design differences are a more leaner, relaxed face, and a choker necklace that spews a captivating purple flame. Whilst I prefer the face of the original, you can't deny that these purple flames add an incredible new dimension to this Pokemon. Speaking of which, Typhlosion gains the ghost typing, something that thankfully no other starter has. At this stage, I have the Johto Typhlosion slightly ahead of the Hisuian form, but I can see that changing as time goes on. I do have to say that without its flames active, the new Hisuian Typhlosion looks rather average. It would have been so much better if they had permanent flames, and the same can be said for the Johto variant. Either way, these are two of the best fire starters in the series. Like I said, I love the Goomy line, but I was really disappointed with how they took away Goodra's goofy, playful look. Thankfully, Siligu kept its lovable smile and retains the charm it had when it first appeared in Kalos. It too has the new Steel Dragon typing, which is awesome, but rather than have only its tail encased in the metal shell, its whole lower body is in there. Yeah, the concept's been done before, but I think this is the best example of a Pokemon withdrawing into its shell that we've seen in the series. I can't help but smile when I see it pop out to attack. Then, when it hides in its shell, flips on its side and rolls away, well, that's just wholesomeness at its finest. This is a fantastic way to bring some excitement to a middle stage evolution, and I just wish they stuck the landing a bit better with Goodra. How do you take one of the most popular Pokemon in the franchise and improve them? Well, you give them a horrific backstory, an incredible design, and a new unused type combination. Hisuian Zoroak is an absurd take on the Unovian variant that I was not expecting. The original Zoroak has such a great lore with Anne that I didn't think that a Hisuian form could even compete, but it's pretty close. The thought of Zoroak and Hisui dying and being reborn out of spite is an incredible concept that I would love to see play out in an anime episode or a movie. The white and red colour scheme with the madness of its upper body screamed chaos, and it's one of the few Pokemon in recent memory that strike me as menacing. It feels like Zoroak has taken its hair out of its ponytail and it's absolutely unhinged. Like Zarua, it's got the normal ghost typing, which is just perfect. This to me is the epitome of what a Pokemon design can be. As good as the new Zoroark is, for me the best new Pokemon in Legends Arceus has to be the adorable Hisuian Growlithe. I fell in love with this fire pupper as soon as it was revealed. I love its new white fur that covers its eyes. I love its improved orange colouring. I love its cute little horn, its fluffy tail, its playful cuddly persona. I just love everything about this cute animal. Like with Arcanine, I do enjoy the original Growlithe design, but this Hisui form is just a massive upgrade. I really like its resemblance to ancient Chinese line statues. It's just another beautiful design aspect. Look, the fire rock typing isn't the greatest from a competitive standpoint, but I don't care. I just want Pokemon to hurry up and release some cute Hisuian Growlithe merchandise so I can throw all my money towards it. I look forward to seeing Hisuian Growlithe make all those future lists of cutest Pokemon and the Pokemon that you would most like to have as a pet. But that's just what I think. I would love to hear your thoughts, so share them with me in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like and share it with a friend. It really helps me out. If you're a fan of either the Zelda or the Pokemon series, then consider subscribing so you don't miss any future videos. I've got a couple more Legends Arceus videos planned before I jump back into some more Zelda content, so stay tuned for all of that. In the meantime, why not check out some of my other videos? But whatever you decide to do, I hope that you stay safe, stay kind, and I'll catch you next time on the Hungry Heracross.